I'm so honored to be here this evening. You've heard of some of the amazing work of the National Breast Cancer Coalition. While your support has helped them reach these accomplishments, it is the passion and commitment of dedicated advocates across the country who work day in and day out to make NBCC's mission a reality that will be vital to reaching the deadline. Tonight we will honor two of them. These women give so much of themselves as volunteers because they do not want to see breast cancer passed on to yet another generation. Gisemi Lopez was diagnosed with an aggressive and fast-growing triple-negative breast cancer when she was only 30 years old. By the time she had surgery, less than 3 weeks later, her tumor had progressed from stage 1 to stage 2, and she learned that she carried the breast cancer gene BRCA1. She realized that many people do not have the access to quality treatment for breast cancer like she did, and she was inspired to do something. In 2012, Gisemi graduated NBCC's Project Lead Institute, and last spring she participated in NBCC's Advocacy Leadership Summit, followed by the always inspiring annual Lobby Day on Capitol Hill. In her local community, she serves on several breast cancer advisory councils, and she speaks in English and Spanish to low-income and underrepresented populations in churches, community fairs, and neighborhood meetings in Los Angeles and in Mexico. Her goal is to guide those who are newly diagnosed, as well as long-term survivors, to better understand the importance of working to achieve Breast Cancer Deadline 2020. Gisemi's husband, Sebastian, is here to celebrate with her this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring Gisemi Lopez.
Mil gracias, National Breast Cancer Coalition, for this amazing award. I humbly accept it, thinking of my fellow advocates who work tirelessly and with passion in spite of all life challenges. My own first personal challenge was leaving my family in southern Mexico to follow my heart when I married my husband 11 years ago yesterday. Right, Sebastian? Since 2011, I've taken on bigger challenges: surviving breast cancer and a second primary cancer, testing positive for a breast cancer gene, living with the collateral damage of 5 surgeries and chemotherapies, and very importantly, becoming an advocate. Losing my body parts could never compare to how I felt when I learned that my own grandma was diagnosed with breast cancer last December, or the fear I saw in the eyes of Nancy Martinez, a young Latina single mother from Los Angeles, as she begged her doctor to extend her life long enough to be with her son, to see him graduate from high school. Sadly, a few months before his graduation, this young man became an orphan. This is not acceptable. Losing so many people to breast cancer made me stop believing in a pain culture that sells hope without a goal or a deadline. As a survivor, thank you. As a survivor, a consumer and an advocate, I decided to invest my time, my efforts, and all my donations to support initiatives that truly act to find innovative solutions. That's why I support the work of the National Breast Cancer Coalition Deadline 2020. Thank you.
Wanda Lucas is a true champion advocate for the National Breast Cancer Coalition and all women and men who are at risk of breast cancer. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2006. only 2 months after losing a childhood friend to the disease. Learning that so many African American women die from breast cancer, she gave up her successful career in the corporate world and became actively involved in research at Georgetown University, focusing on addressing the issue of health disparities primarily as it relates to African American women. In 2012, Wanda found the National Breast Cancer Coalition, attended her first advocacy training conference. Later that year, she decided to learn more about breast cancer science advocacy and took Project Lead, a very tough course, I'm told. She is consistently and constantly learning and leading. In fact, she is an NBCC-trained team leader and a strong voice for NBCC public policy initiatives. In 2011, she was recognized as a champion of change for breast cancer by the White House. She co-leads the Georgetown University Breast Cancer Patient Advocacy Group, and she volunteers her time for many other groups. Wanda wants to see a world without breast cancer. She believes that it is her responsibility to provide insight on what is important to women facing breast cancer, and to use her NBCC training and education to educate researchers and patients about Breast Cancer Deadline 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring Wanda Lucas.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here to support the National Breast Cancer Coalition and Breast Cancer Deadline 2020. As I think back on my first advocacy conference in 2010, I was immediately struck by this organization's vision, strategies, and its focus on advocate education. I remember sharing my excitement with someone saying, NBCC is about the business, and I love that. My personal story is not as important tonight as you knowing about the lack of progress in breast cancer research and the plan NBCC has launched to change that. Knowing how to end this horrific disease should be a goal on which everyone can agree. Growing up, I was always taught to work on creating a legacy, leaving the world better than you found it. Making a mark with your life should have little to do with your ego, but more about making things better for those who come after you. I recognize that I may not personally benefit from the end of breast cancer, but I know future generations will, and that is what matters to me. Breast Cancer Deadline 2020 is critical, it matters, it is right on target, and it needs your continued support. I want to thank the National Breast Cancer Coalition for this honor. I was quite surprised and equally humbled when I was notified of this recognition. Honestly, I would like to honor you. You have educated me on the options and the depth of advocacy. You trained me on the science so that I could not only sit at the table, but have conversations with researchers who I might not otherwise have met. Most of all, you challenged me to step out of my comfort zone and lobby on Capitol Hill. I would have never imagined how much enjoyment I would gain from that process. Thank you, NBCC, for the opportunities to do so many things with my big voice. Thank you.